analytics. And again, during those time, there was some, contracts that I got laid off from those contracts. So I suffered again. My life was not all straight line. People think success comes just like that. No, success takes time. So again, that's what made me, feel like there is so many people who are suffering like me, and that's what made me, volunteer to help others with whatever I need. Again, at my early beginnings, when I started to volunteer, I knew a little bit of information, and then this is what I normally do. I just share those information. They might help someone. Again, I don't know. So after
Mm-hmm.
time passed, people started to refer me to others, and then it became almost viral. Like I just realized that from the amount of people that I spoke with, that I helped more than 700 professionals land jobs in US and Canada in the past 5 years.
Nice.
Again, through volunteering, through my Sunday call that I developed during COVID, in order again to help people understand their hidden gaps. You don't know what you don't know, and that's the tricky part. So again, I don't want this to be a big discussion about me only,
Right.
and I also give you a chance to ask me more questions. But that's what made me take it
Mm-hmm.
on myself to start my own mission to help more people land jobs through my company futurecareer.net, and where I help people land jobs in 3 months or less. And again, I have different packages, but I'll pause here, hand it over to you to ask me
Sure.
other questions.
Well, I love part of your story. First of all, like my mentorship call started also during the pandemic, and I have a huge, huge heart for just giving and knowing that it will come back. And I'm not saying like fine, it just comes back through joy and that satisfaction of knowing that if I helped one, it's enough. And it took a minute to get there, and I just love how you progressed through that journey from I just want to help a few people to wait, I can make a career out of this and know that you have that worth. So um yeah, like I know, and then I love the relatability of I know so many people right now are in this almost desperate sort of building of what do I do if I'm not closing that gap? And you talked about driving for Uber and whatnot just to make those ends meet. And I know some people are at that point. Do you have any just encouragement from your own story that you might offer people that are just stuck in that uh, maybe fear, like just straight up afraid of what is tomorrow going to bring?
Yeah. So again, that was my situation during my journey. I was not clear about what's my future would look like, But the main idea here is to get going. If you stay still, if you just sit
Mhm.
at home, apply online and spray and pray, that's not gonna help you. And again, most people are desperate or frustrated because they have a financial obligation.
Yes.
During the COVID time, the market was hot. We got big salaries, we got big ambitions, we bought you know houses, vacations, and we spent so much money. And oh my God, now if you think about it, what did I do? I should have saved some of those money for that day. And this is what happened to me, and then maybe that happened to everybody else. So financial stress is the big thing that is driving the mental health, driving the frustration, driving the depression that is leading this whole market. So what I would highly, highly recommend, the first thing everybody should do to get their journey right is to make their finances right. So what do I mean by that? They should sit together with their spouse or partner and list all their expenses, all the necessary expenses, what they need to pay monthly, and understand how much savings do I have. If those savings are almost gone, if I have only 1 month to pay my rent, then I need to get a job now. What does that mean? That means that it may not be my same career. It might be Uber, it might be something else that I can really land fast in order to reduce that big stress or depression on my financial situation. Once I do that, and then I have at least a little bit of relief, my mindset, my mental health will be less stressed. I'll be able to take better decisions. And instead of me waking every day or even not sleeping at night because I'm stressed financially and I'm thinking about my bank account, I'm thinking about the bill that keeps coming, then at least I know that I have a little bit of financials, even if it's smaller than what I used to do, but it's still at least something coming that would make me survive for some time. So that's my biggest, you know, uh, wisdom that I would give to anyone searching for their job today. Your financial situation can drive your decisions, and if you don't make that decision very careful, then unfortunately you might put yourself into more stress, and again, it's gonna be even worse.
Yeah. And I really I love that you were like, well, get moving and doing something also, because it is, even with my own layoff that I had, there's a little bit of sometimes, wow, I'm still in my house. I'm still doing this thing and getting stuck in a pattern, even trying to do something different. And I can imagine if I didn't have a plan B, that I would be even more. Um, is stress the right word? I love that. I guess you use the word desperate, and a lot of people, if if you're not doing something else, then all you have is this laser vision of what's wrong. And that desperation can really like, our imaginations are great, and our desperation can take off in this pattern of what if this, what if this, what if this, without
Yes.
taking a breath and doing something practical. So I like that point a lot. Yeah. So, okay, you gave advice on, you mentioned something that I kind of latched onto on the spray and pray and the easy apply. Are you, what would you advise, I suppose, your clients when it comes to that? Because that's, we hear that that doesn't work. So
Yes.
what would you kind of direct somebody to do as opposed,
Yes.
like just an alternative option?
Yes. This is a good point. And again, most of the people who came to me lately, and again, there's so many people that speak with me every day. They have the problem of the clarity about what am I selling and what the market is buying. And this is a very, very crucial point.
Hmm.
Because so many people thinks, okay, I've been in that role maybe for 5 or 10 years, and I've been doing that same role over and over again, and maybe the market has shifted from that role a little bit. Again, AI is a big thing today, and everybody is almost using AI somehow, and it's a fancy word, a buzzword that everybody needs to keep adding to their skills or certs or experience. So what I normally do with the folks that I work with initially, we do 5 steps, action. The first step is define how much money do I need from the job. So again, that definitely depends on, there is a minimum amount of money that I need from the job in order to pay all my bills. And then again, I need to get at least extra 10-20% more so that I can cope up with any emergency. And then what I need to do next is find which roles that I can deliver today that are in demand, that pays this money. Because this is a crucial point. So many people just go and apply without reading how much money they will get, or knowing what is the average for this role, what is the cap for this company. And then they might end up getting the offer letter and then getting surprised, oh my god, this offer letter is too low for what I thought. And this frustrates too. So if you don't do that homework at the beginning, then unfortunately you lose time, and you lose energy. And again, it's a tough journey. So the third step is being deliberate, in terms of the company's list. Every person who worked before, they work for specific industries. So, for example, you've been working for Microsoft, I've been working for Microsoft. So, companies like Google, Amazon, Facebook, maybe, I don't know, Oracle could be a good fit for us because we know that industry. We know that what tech leaders want from the market. that's where the industry need to be clear, and I need to find companies, a very specific list of 20 companies or more that hire this role and pay this money, because otherwise I'm just again spray and pray, and I if I go to an industry that I don't have stories, I will not click. So if let's say I work all my life in retail and I now want to shift to healthcare, I know nothing about healthcare. How can I convince people that I'm the right person for the healthcare industry? So again, doing those steps, and again I'll go to point 4 and 5 shortly, will guarantee almost that your work will pay off afterwards. But if you don't do those steps, then unfortunately you're spraying and praying, and this is where you get overwhelmed quickly with the so many certifications, the so many skills that you need to add to your belt in order to land that job. So the fourth step is people. So now I decided which companies. Now I need to speak to people in those companies that would tell me exactly what are the value of this company, what are they really like about those roles. This role is more into, let's say, customer interface. This role is more about certifications. This more is all about agile and product management and those kind of things. So I need to get an insider information about what do this company really cares for, so that I can position myself and brand myself to this kind of problems that they are trying to solve. So this is a very, very crucial piece, and especially in this market, 80% of the jobs are hidden and they are not advertised, and 20% of the remaining jobs that is advertised are sometimes fake, sometimes are just old jobs, and sometimes are not really the right jobs for me, and the competition is so high. You see one post, have 1,000 people applied to. That frustrates people and discourages them, despite that maybe those 1,000 people may have like 900 who are not qualified, if you will. So the fifth step, after you speak to people, now you will realize your gaps. So many people start with, oh, I see this fancy certification by Microsoft or Amazon or Google. I'll go and take that. And then after they take that certification, this is not helping me with my role. Okay, so what did I do to myself? I invested time, energy, and money without being deliberate. So in order for you to be very focused, you need to check the gaps of this job that you're really looking for, and what do those companies appreciate for the certification or the skill set. And again, those 5 steps are golden for anyone's success. Once you do it right and you have that clear goal that you're chasing, then the next steps are more clear. Again, I'm not going to say it's easier,
Right.
but it's more clear, because nothing is easy in job search.
Right. Yeah. And like to your point, I even named my own products like intentional connection, intentional inbox. So you're talking about intentionality and clarity. And I know when I was trying to overcome a career gap, my biggest thing was I just want to land something. And I never took the time to look at my own skill sets, really analyze what I knew how to do now and then what I needed to learn. And that set, I mean, it took 3 years for me to on that journey. It didn't need to. It did not need to if I would have just really gotten crisp and clear. So I love that message that you're talking about, um, is finding that clarity. And I know that can be a challenge, especially in this job market. And my blocker was really, well, I can learn anything. So just give me the chance and I'll show you what I can learn. But it does get messy with how do I write this cover letter? How do I adapt it? And you can spend so much time just adapting the resume over and over and over again because of the it's almost like our own self-belief can get in the way of
Yes,
actually making progress.
100%,
Yeah.
100%. And again, I think the biggest problem also that some people treat this transactional, treat this journey as transactional, while it's not transactional at all. So many people just, okay, I applied to 100 jobs, but did you really read the job description? Did you really understand what the problems are you solving for that company, so that you tailor your resume, tailor your branding so that you fit with the company that you're looking for, the employer. I personally always say job search is just like marriage or dating. It's a relationship. If both sides are not excited about each other, this relationship breaks.
Mm.
So if you don't, feel or make sure that when you are applying to a job, you're excited about this role, you really feel like, I want to be in this company. I want to grow with this company. There is a potential for me to do success with this company versus I just need the money and I don't care about you guys. That's not going to work, because it will show up either through the resume, through the interview, through the interactions. And employers today, they are clever. They know that if I hire someone who doesn't really fit me or who doesn't want to grow with me, they will leave me quickly, and they will either not give me productivity or they might take a lot of time to learn my culture and resist. And if they resist, then again, this is where conflicts and problems happen.
Yeah, those are great points. And then one of the things that came to me while you're talking, even when it comes to clarity and applying for different jobs, is there's the challenge with job seekers that I see on, okay, I'm tailoring my resume to this thing. What do I do with my LinkedIn profile? Because now we've applied to 6 different types of roles, and recruiters, hiring managers may go to your profile, and now your profile tells a different story than your own resume, and you have that disconnect where if you're really focused on one thing, niching is what we would call it almost anywhere, right? If you're niching, now you can build a profile that matches that niche and then land, or at least lend credibility regardless of who shows up on your profile. Uh,
100%.
to
100%.
match, right?
Yeah, again, the industry and domain. This is in your LinkedIn, you cannot tailor every time.
Right.
You need to focus on a specific industry and domain that you want to attract. It's again, this is, I personally treat the job search as a business. Like everyone is selling their own value to employers. So you have to do sales, that's interviewing. You have to do marketing, that's your resume and LinkedIn. And you need to do development, which is again the skills and search. But before you do those three things, strategy. You need to know what are the persona, who are going to hire you, what solution are you offering, and make this clear that you attract or work on the right persona for your own journey.
Yeah. And then the other side to doing that is you get a chance to define yourself and find true job satisfaction. Like if I look at my profile versus how it's shifted over time, I learned that this kind of thing, talking to people, making connections, customers, surveying, finding out all the things that customers really want, it's a superpower. And I know that about me, where I can also define a bunch of weaknesses that I learned on the job that stole the joy, right? As opposed to leaning into, look, if you spark this passion of mine, you've got me, and I'm not going anywhere because I am like right where I need to be. Loving showing up to work, and building this business has felt like play, actually. Even though I'm not making anything, it's like it just feels like joy and play and meeting connections, and I'm happy in it. And and I'm just it's fun, and I am enjoying every day. So
Yes, I agree with you 100% because again, that's what exactly happening with me. It's fun to do the thing that you really care about and you want to support people. And again, we're doing it from our hearts. That makes us more special. That makes us more caring. And again, money will come anyway. Money will
right.
come. I'm not worried about money at all. I care about the person because I was in their shoe one day and I know exactly the pain. I know how the struggles. I know
Mhm.
how to support. And again, you're doing the same thing. And I
Mhm.
love again what you're doing. In the calls and even your posts on LinkedIn and TikTok and now those lives. And we learn, and again, I learn every day from the people who come to me for expertise. They sometimes teach me too, and that's how I grow, and that's how they grow too. We share information, and
Yeah.
it's two-way all the way.
Yeah, I think people don't realize by putting themselves out there on something like LinkedIn or me doing these crazy TikTok lives, talk about a stretch. I have no idea what I'm doing. But when you're in your specialty, like the things you love doing, risk stops feeling as scary too. Because it's like, you know what? I did this mentorship call and look, it's grown and all these things. So now when I do TikTok live, which is the most awkward thing right now because I haven't learned the secret sauce, it's like I am talking into the void and people are showing up and then they leave. And that's not like the mentorship calls. But it's the risk seems less because of the promise of I'm in the right space. I've done something like this before. To your point, if you've been in an industry, you understand it a little bit more. And now, if you're switching companies, it doesn't become, oh, I'm learning how software works from day one. And it's like, no, I have this experience. Yes, the branding is different and the people I'm working with, maybe the problems we're solving are slightly different. Often they're probably not because industry trends are industry trends. So it's applying a lot of that same skill set to different roles. And I'm sure you've seen that because you also do like career coaching once people are in a role too. So would you like to pivot and talk a little bit about that experience?
Yeah, no, again, when someone is stuck in their career, and they don't feel what to do, they definitely need to go to a coach, because whatever they are doing, it's not working. If you keep doing what you're doing, you keep getting what you're getting, and sometimes it's maybe a very tiny thing that is blocking you, but you don't know it, and
Okay.
and you keep struggling to get past that. And I learned this myself. During something, and I'm not gonna say names of employers because I don't want to bash anybody, but there was a certain period of my time that I knew that I cannot grow in my company. Regardless what I do, I'm not gonna grow further. I'm not gonna be able to find another job. Again, maybe because I lack some specific experience, I lack some specific knowledge or maybe skills, but this is going to be blocked for me. So maybe the best way is to find something else outside of my employer. So that's maybe what I've done in some point of time in my career. So in
Okay.
order for people who are stuck to know those things, again, they still need to do the same 5 steps that I did for even the folks who are searching for a job. Because if they are not clear about what they are looking for, it's not going to work. And if you start wrong, so for example, I work with someone who wants to stay in their company. There is some layoffs coming, but they want to stay in their company. So now we're working with her in order to pivot to other roles that are in demand in her company, so that she can land those roles. So how do we land those roles? Again, we definitely need to read the job description and speak with people who are doing those roles in that company in order to understand exactly what I need to grow. What should I speak? What should I tell about my stories? What volunteering or extra work should I put myself in order to grow in that new career that I want to go through? So again, defining the whole strategy and plan is very, very important for the success, whether you're looking for a job or you are switching jobs or you want to grow in your career. You have to first create that goal and then understand your gaps and work on your gaps. And you need to be realistic. So if, for example, your gap, you want to grow to a role that needs 1 year of certifications and you want to land this role in 3 months, that's not realistic. So you're just burning yourself, not in a good way. And
Right.
sometimes, again, peer pressure and social media. Oh, this guy promoted, that lady got that, and I want to be like them quickly. But you didn't see the pain they went through, in order for them to promote or grow. They have done courses, they have spent late nights learning beside the work in order to grow, and they even took some initiatives that are outside of their day-to-day jobs in order to grow. So it's not easy, but it's not impossible too. If you're really persistent, if you're serious, do the plan, get the goal clear, and work on the plan. As simple as it is.
Yeah. I was thinking when you were talking about my own, reflecting on my own career, because I came out of, gosh, nearly 20 years of stay-at-home mom world into into Microsoft, into the, like, almost the ultimate corporate scenario. And I know I had so much learning to do, and kind of even misaligned authenticity, and that, that call for authentically who you are, to probably oversharing, or just absolutely, I don't even say probably, to oversharing, and telling a little bit too much about the personal side. And I guess my question comes to, is there a point when someone has stuck their foot in their mouth so much that the option is usually go to, like, get a political fresh start, as opposed to trying to keep um, pressing at the mistakes that you've made in the past? Uh, I know that's pretty multifaceted, because it's also individual. And what did you do, or what did you say? Like, who did you say
Yeah,
it to?
yeah. No, again, it's a journey, and everybody is different. Everybody is different. Our pains are different, our struggles are different, our mindset are different, our muscles are different, our growing speed is different. So someone, you could explain something to them, and they get it from the first 5 seconds. Some other folks, you need to explain one or two and three or four times until they get it.
Right.
That does not mean that they're stupid. It's just they have a different muscle. They have a different growth, momentum, if you will. So this is where, again, coaches like me and we normally assess, and we normally see where they are, and then point them to what works in a smaller scale. Again, if I give someone a lot of things to do from the first day, they will be overwhelmed. They will, get, it's just, again, when you start a diet, or you go to the gym, and you see those bulky people, in the
Yeah.
gym, oh my God, how can I get there? That's really very difficult, but it's a step by step. You do small things, you grow step by step, slowly but surely.
Yep. Even before you mentioned the gym, I was a personal trainer in one of my iterations of career. So it truly is new client presenting. I'm like, let's learn how to move properly so you don't hurt yourself. It's really, truly, day one is not running the marathon. It's like, are you in the right shoes?
Yes.
So you don't cause more damage in the long run. And I can even say that my body wears the mistakes that I made then, just like my career did, right? And sometimes my best advice comes in the hard lessons that I had, versus even listening to someone else's struggle. Yeah, it's fine, but I can talk about even being laid off now. There's a level of emotional depth now that I have for the people that I've been helping for a long time on the mentorship call. Um, of Wow, my house is quiet without the business meeting. It's in some ways that's amazing and beautiful, but my calendar has a lot more just open places that weren't there, and it's strange. So there's the mental shift, even if it's good. Like that, my less noisy calendar is amazing for restoring mental health from the constant busy calendar, but it's different, and there's a shift in me that comes in that process. Uh, so it is sometimes just sharing. This is how I messed it up ridiculously. Don't do that. So
No, again, you didn't mess up. I think, again, you're just
I
growing.
grew. I grew through experience.
Exactly. This is, again, if you don't make mistakes, you will never learn.
Right.
And that's the beauty of experience.
Mhm.
Experience means that you've done a ton of mistakes, and you know now how to avoid them, and now you're doing what is needed to avoid them.
That's why they say gray hair brings wisdom, because we've earned it. But yeah, I mean, but really, there is an aspect to that where it's, I see it with my own kids, right? Oh, don't do this. Like, you're on a path where it's like, yeah, you'll eventually be successful, but you're gonna tread water for a bit. on it. Um,
Yeah. Again, this period of time with the fast-paced technology and evolution, and the
mhm,
amount of information that is in our hand tips, with our phones, ChatGPT and others, you can learn anything. You want to learn, just googling it through ChatGPT or
mhm.
whatever AI tool that you're using. It's tough, and sometimes this is the rush. This is the I want to be really quick in this, and I want to land the job tomorrow. And that's unfortunately where the frustration comes, is setting the wrong expectation. The
Mhm.
average time for someone to land a job in this kind of period is 3 to 6 months. So, and again, the problem with most of tech folks, and again, I was one of them at a certain point, we are introverts.
Oh,
We
yeah.
don't want to speak. We just wanna do the code, do the work, put our podcast or put whatever that we're listening to. Don't bother me. Get away, and I just get the job done, and that's it. That's not what employers need now. They need more
Mhm,
communication skills. They need more
mhm.
interactions. They need more team building. They need someone who is not an introvert. So if you're shy to come on camera in an event that you should meet some people, then you're not a good person to be hired, because you're shy from those things. And again, it's not easy. I know it's not easy for people who are not used to it, but this
Mhm.
is how you need to grow in those areas. This is how you really land the next job. If you don't grow in those areas that you're afraid of, you will not be able to do a good job in the job. Even
Yeah.
after you land the job, it might be scary to stay in the job.
Yeah, I have talked to people, they would reach out to me when I was at Microsoft just on Teams is, well, I'm kind of interested in looking at particularly vendors who were trying to get into full-time roles. And they're like, but I don't like to spotlight myself. And I said, you got to change. And even with when I talk about mistakes that I made, I was very much like that because I am. People don't think so, but I am actually an introvert. When my social battery is done, I have to step away for a little bit to recharge.
It's okay.
But there's a piece of developing courage, and one of what's becoming one of my favorite things to coach people on actually is even more courage, because it's the blocker sometimes on what is stopping them from posting on LinkedIn, from reaching out to somebody for a new connection, from being willing to expand their network. It's this fear of these unknowns or self-doubt. I've cited a lot, typically when I'm talking to people, is that I did a poll on what stops people from posting on LinkedIn, and it was fear or feeling like they didn't have anything to add to the conversation. And both of those things can be taught on taking those first steps. But like I said, conference on day one, but I would ask them to post an introductory post on LinkedIn, just saying who you are, and make those mistakes when your network's small. Because by the time it's big, it's just a comfortable thing. It doesn't matter anymore if people interact or not. So,
Yeah. No, again, this is, I've been following Alex Hormozy lately. I'm not sure if you heard about Alex Hormozy. He's an entrepreneur. He has a big company called acquisition.com, and he helps entrepreneurs grow their business.
mhm.
And he has a very nice, way of saying this. Again, if you expect everything to be easy, you will never grow. And those people that you care about, saying bad things about your videos or your LinkedIn posts or whatever, they will be gone in 10 years, and they don't care. They don't even give a damn about anything that you're doing.
Yeah.
They have their own world. They are busy with those things. It's just you thinking that they care a lot about you, and that paralyze you from doing the thing that you should do,
Yeah.
which should not, freeze yourself.
Yeah, I love that. I remember coaching one of my kiddos recently. I'm like, I promise you think about you way more than anybody else does. And even if you think someone is judging you, they may just be saying, what a cool shirt she's wearing. Like it may not have anything to do with that. And trolls are trolls on the internet, and they will. I kind of, when I get one, I'm like, I have arrived. I have arrived. I got a new hater. This is amazing. So, but It really is. Like for me, what's starting to become a beacon of what I should do in life is, am I afraid? Like, do I have this kind of fear that's my pet peeve that people will say is I'm thinking about doing blah blah blah. And I'm not talking about analyzing finances or is it a wise choice to make, but it's, yeah, I've been thinking about posting on LinkedIn. Okay, well, do it. Like, you're never, we'll think ourselves into absolutely no, just complete inaction. And it is sometimes we have to get out of our own way, right? On stop thinking and just try the thing.
Yeah. And again, I think it's all about the why too. Like if if you tell someone you need to post on LinkedIn without clarifying the why they should post and what
Mm,
this will do to their career, then it might feel boring. It might feel tough. It might feel difficult. But when they know the why and they become intentional in the why, then that's only when their posts will get better visibility, they will
sure.
get better interaction because they know what they are trying to do and they know what this impact on others will do when they post whatever they are trying to post, again, whether it's wisdom or just question or polls or whatever.
Yeah, I love that. Yes. Yes. All of it, I'm like plus wanting in my head because it is just the clarity matters. And I use the example a lot that I like to post interesting things or whatever's top of mind, and that's great. I'm still growing. But then I look at people who I started LinkedIn with, and I'm not trying to compare and be like, whoa, I did anything wrong. But they talked about one thing and they niched themselves and they had clarity about where they're going, and their audience just grew so much more. And I celebrate that for them, and I learn it for me is how much do I really want to grow a network? And some people may not want to. They might want to keep it really small, but have really close connections. That may be better for a job search than me, who's like, I want to grow the account, or I always tell people to analyze that. But it is really is that clarity drives the actions. And I tell people, write it on a post-it note and put it on your, for me it's a monitor or laptop, put it next to your keyboard, something where you can remember your why. And it's those are the days when I'm like, wow, I needed my own encouragement, my own reminders that this is what I'm doing it, why I'm doing it, and I'm going to show up because that matters more than the fear.
100%. Again, this is how we grow. And again, I think me and you were on the same journey of the business now. And, for example, for me, I never did sales before. I never did marketing. I didn't never did, lead generation and those kind of things. And I'm growing, I'm learning, and my initial days were terrible, but every day I analyze. I see how can I learn from other people who succeeded. And
Mhm.
this is the fastest thing that you can do is learn from people who are have gone there, have been doing this and were able to succeed. And you continuously add small pieces until you grow.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what job seekers need to do. They need to not overwhelm themselves with everything that you need to finish everything today. That's not going to happen. You need to put a plan for small things every day that you knock down until you reach your goal.
Yeah, you also reminded me just now when you were talking about the getting there and the small steps. Sometimes we can continue to think, "Oh, I don't have value until I do this thing." Like get the certification. And we can discount how much we already have because we see a goal that we're not to yet. uh,
Yeah, no, and this is a good point that you bring it up. Most tech folks, they hide behind certifications or degrees. This is the easiest route that they try to go for. But their biggest problem, in my mind, is communication skills, not certs, not experience. It's just how do you position yourself? How do you show your value? How do you tell the stories about problem solving? How do you really get to know the challenges that this company is, trying to solve, so that you become hireable? How to de-risk the hiring manager decision to hire you, because at the end of the day, the hiring managers are scared hell to hire the wrong person, because if they do this, they will mess the team, they will mess the customer, they will mess the stakeholders. It's a big risk for them, so they need information to back up their decision. So unless give them those information that would show that you are, there is no there is nothing called zero risk here, but it's the least risk that I can take among so many people that I've seen, is that person, because he has one, two, three, four, and those I can defend my decision if it went south with those facts and data.
I really like the idea of what you're just talking about, where it comes to sitting with empathy before the interview for that hiring manager, because then it shifts a little bit of how can I prove I'm the best for this job, into what problems are they solving, what fears might they have, what pains are on their team right now. And I ask those questions of hiring managers: what keeps you up at night? What problems are you trying to solve? Where do you see gaps in your team? Things like that. Because if you learn these things, well, now you can tailor the answers towards, oh, I've done this. I've helped with a problem like this. And then that risk for them gets smaller. I just like, I want to chew on that after this call for a little bit, is the idea of marketing your story to meet the actual need of the team, right? Not the perceived need of the team. Or yeah, it shifts in my head a little bit of how I would approach an interview right now, just to think about, okay, this is not prove my worth by talking about all these stories and experiences, but get really communication, right? Like you're saying, read the room, match the energy of the hiring manager, try to see if you can suss out, what do they really need,
100%.
really need.
Yeah, and again, you know, this is where there is two types of interviews. The interrogation type, where you just go and
Mhm.
answer the questions without asking anything, and the conversational type, where you ask clarifying questions. So if an interviewer asks someone a question that is a little bit vague, and if you rush to answer, that tells that you're not really uh, in this job, and they will not appreciate you. But if you ask, okay, so I'm not sure how to answer your question, and I want to get it right. Would you help me understand, what do you mean exactly by this question? Is it this or that? So then you get them to speak, and maybe when they speak, they will tell you the answer that you need to focus on in your reply, and they bring those stories. But if you just rush to answer without getting clarity about what, they might have something in mind, and again, it could be their mind only, and it's tough to uncover. But those clarifying questions, oh, that person cares. If they ask, that means they cares. It's again like the marriage. Like if you sit with your first date and they don't ask you anything about you, and they keep speaking about themselves, this is a boring date. You will not feel excited. Okay, that person didn't speak about me, didn't ask me what I like. Did I like capucci? Did I like avocado, or so those kind of things matters a lot in this kind of relationship.
Yeah, that's also interesting, because when I hear people describe, like, a lot of my friends are not in the dating pool anymore, but a lot of if I'm reading bad date reviews somewhere on the internet, it's usually like they just talk nonstop about themselves, and it's such a, literally, it turns them off from wanting to keep having the conversations. And I could see that happening very much with interviews and hiring managers. Don't you care about my team? Don't you care about what we're doing? And you did differentiate. Sometimes there's the interrogation interviews, and those are I've heard two sides when it comes to that. Is sometimes the hiring manager just wants to know straight out, can you do the actual physical data or the day-to-day things that we need? And maybe they're driving towards that. And those are often really hard to cut past it to find out what they really need. Cause it's like, no, I need you to get to this specific answer. And those also were some of my worst interviews too. Was when they were like, yeah, I wanted you to answer this. And I was just like, well, I wasn't going to get there. I was thinking different. So, like,
Yeah.
sorry.
No,
But there are
again,
differences. Yeah.
that's yeah. Sorry.
No, no, I was just going to say, finish that there are differences. And then I was going to turn it over to you anyway. So,
No, again, this is what exactly, you need to read the room. You need to coach the interviewer. They might be a bad interviewer, but if you cannot, read this from the first few seconds and, help them become a good interviewer and make them feel proud about their, delivery, then, if they fail, you fail. And that's where it becomes, always on you. And the market is tough, but it's still your problem. You have to work it out. Whether it's tough, whether it's a bad interviewer, it's still your problem. You have to find a way.
yeah. And we are getting, I saw the number of minutes we've been going. It's switched to 5. I love to ask my people, or my guests, is there anything that you wish I would have asked you about that we haven't gotten to yet, where it was kind of like, oh, I hope I get to talk about this thing. And I would love for you to pop those thoughts in there.
Yeah, I think again the most important thing is giving back before you take. And this is one of the biggest things that I learned a lot from Microsoft. I led a big community of 7,500 professionals worldwide with Microsoft with the leadership skills, and it was viral. I This was part of my volunteering. It's not part of my own job. I was a project manager and a program manager. I was not really getting, let's say, any, again, the connects had some giving back part, but the main job I could have done much smaller things, but leading that big community and helping others grow was crucial for my success. And my everything that you learn from me today is because I learned so many things from others who I helped, and they grow and I grow too. So
Mhm.
if there is something that job seekers need to do today, so if let's say they are stuck, try to give back. So if let's say I'm a good developer, I know Python very well. Okay, so offer some Python basic, you know, community. Just go and offer something that to help others. Once you offer to help others, someone or someday this will come back to you, that someone will tell, okay, I learned from you and I owe it to you. you know Let me know whatever you need from me. And maybe those could be referrals, this could be something that they give you back. And again, you don't do it because you want to get back in the future. It's going to come eventually, but you need to start thinking that way. And again, this is one of the things that happened during my you know breakdown during my career. I was really desperate, but I thought, okay, I'll help people. I'll just help people and see what will happen. And once I started to help people, I got jobs. you know and I didn't really apply for those jobs even. So that's the beauty of it. When you really care about someone or you're trying to give back, you always get back, whether directly or indirectly.
Yeah, you become instantly referable to a thing, right? Because especially like you were talking about, if you have a hard skill like Python, well, do a meetup, have a little coding challenge with some people, coach them. Because maybe they're entry level and they get that job, but then when their engineering manager is leaving, they're like, hey, this job just opened up. You'd be great at it because now you've shown that you can coach, you've shown that you care, and you've shown your technical skills all at the same time. So you become top of mind. And that's what niching can do for you. You talk about the one thing, or one or two things, and then double down on it. This is my specialty. People start thinking, oh, that's the Python guy. Like
Exactly. Yeah. And again,
mhm.
I personally now moving towards communities. I'm creating multiple communities to help specific roles in my company. And again, I'm offering people to come and volunteer to help. And there might be some, financial obligation as well that I can help them with. So if someone is stuck and is listening to me today, and they have very good experience in a specific area, let's say UI, UX, data science, cyber, or whatever they have, and they want to, start a small thing that would grow by time, they can come and speak to me, and I'm happy to help them through the journey.
Fantastic. Yeah, I love that. There were people that came to mind. Talk about being referable. There were people that literally came to mind as you were talking. I'm like, oh, I should reach out to them and tell them what you're doing. And that is the beautiful segue of how do people find you? Where's the best place to connect with you? I know you're on LinkedIn, have a presence there. That's how we met. Are there other places that that you live on in your corner of the internet?
Yeah, I have my website, futurecareer.net. You can find me there. But LinkedIn, I'm very active on LinkedIn. You can almost get, a reply, minutes after you unless I'm in calls or helping someone, then I reply almost within 24 hours to any message. And again, I love to network, so don't feel like you need a permission to knock on my door or get my time. I do free consultation, and I help people get them to at least know their gaps or know their hidden challenges, and that's what I do in my free consultation regularly.
Yeah, amazing. So thank you then for being here. Thank you for what you're doing to